What's happening, everybody? Dave Bowen, the last honest marketer. And today I have some really interesting information to talk to you about that can literally help you to tap into and get inspiration from and on anything that you want. Okay, and let me explain myself here. Have you ever wondered how people like Einstein, for instance, okay, which is one that I'm going to be focusing a lot on, where in the world he got all of the information that he got, because it just humanly really isn't possible. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that he came up with, it's just, if you really look at it, how did that guy with the technology that he had figure out the things that he figured out? For instance, black holes, wormholes, theory of relativity. I mean, all that stuff. How did he figure that stuff out? And have you ever wondered how, for instance, Thomas Edison, how he, created a light bulb, how he finally harnessed, electricity, how he finally harnessed, lightning into a light bulb to create light? Or Henry Ford, or any of the great people. Have you ever wondered how they got their inspiration and their information to do what they did? Okay, because it has really mind-boggled me on how they did that. And I started reading yet another book, okay? And when I said that, you may have heard me say that I literally, will start like 10 books and read them. Well, it's the truth, and that's a bad habit of mine. But this is one that I don't know. I just wanted to start reading. Of course, we're this month. I forget when we started. I want to say it was September 20th or something like that. May have been later than that. We started Emmett Fox's The Sermon on the Mount. Okay, that is our book of the month, and that is one that I if you're interested in doing the book of the month with us, that is one that I want you to be reading, because that book. The funny thing is that book ties in with what I'm going to teach you today. Okay, and again, what I'm going to teach you today is how to literally tap into an infinite storehouse of information from infinite intelligence. Okay, and here, let me just go ahead and get into it. I started reading Napoleon Hill's The Law of Success, okay, which is actually written before Think and Grow Rich, and it was really a course on really master salesmanship. But a lot of the teachings in this book were of course taken into Think and Grow Rich. But this book, of course, I've got the ebook version, but it's 1,700 pages. I mean, it is a long book, where I'll just show you here. Think and Grow Rich, I want to say, is 700. Yeah, 688. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of how much longer the Law of Success is. But in the very beginning of the Law of Success, Napoleon Hill talks about some really interesting information. Some of it you may already know from physics or science stuff taught in high school. That if you break down the largest star in the heaven and a grain of sand, and you break them down, both of them, break them all the way down, the electrons, they're electrons. That is the building block of nature. That is the building block of what we know, matter, everything. Okay, even us. I mean, you break us down, we're just electrons, and of course, electrons, spin around in an atom. Okay, and what Napoleon Hill talks about, and see, actually, Alexander Graham Bell helped him write this chapter and get these facts and stuff together. And what they found is that in this, I don't know about you, but I never remember this being taught in schools, is that there is a fluid which that electron spins in, okay? And even to this day, as far as I know, I don't know if you we're taught anything about it. Scientists have not been able to figure out what exactly this fluid is, okay? But if you have read Think and Grow Rich, you know that Napoleon Hill talks about the ether, okay? And no, not the ether that you're thinking about. It's what Napoleon Hill thinks is this fluid that's in this atom is in space, it's in our air, it's in everything, okay? And this ether is how radio waves are transferred, how our cell phone waves, are transferred, how all that stuff is transferred through the ether, okay? And again, it's like the same fluid. Napoleon Hill and Alexander Graham Bell's theory is it's like the same fluid that's in these atoms, okay? Now, my point to telling you all this stuff, first of all, is that they have found that when that electron spins around in that fluid, it vibrates. And if you've ever studied the law of attraction, they talk about we give off vibrations. Have you ever heard, someone say, I got a bad vibe? Or have you ever said, I got a bad vibe from that person? Okay, well, that's where that comes from. We are always putting off vibrations, and that's because, you look at this right here, even though this doesn't look like it's moving, okay, it's moving. Everything is always moving. It's always vibrating. And so when that electron spins from 32,000 to 38,000 vibrations per second, that is what we know as sound, like what you're hearing right now, that's sound. 1.5 million vibrations is heat, 3 million vibrations is light, and then like 4 million vibrations is ultraviolet light. Excuse me. And then above that, and scientists, they don't know the range, okay? They don't know the range. They don't know how high it goes, is our thoughts, okay? So our thoughts are giving off vibrations higher than every single thing that we know: sound, heat, light, and ultraviolet light. Now that right there is interesting. But here's the interesting thing, and this is Napoleon Hill's theory, is that our thoughts go out into this ether. They go out into the universe, into this almost, massive storehouse of thoughts and knowledge that is in the universe, okay? And have you ever had a thought just hit you and you're like, where did that come from? That is because you raised your vibrations to a certain level, and maybe you had a problem, okay, and you raised your vibrations to a certain level, and you were able to access this infinite storehouse of thoughts and knowledge, and the answer or that thought came to you. Okay, that's what that is. Well, when I first read this, I not that I doubted Napoleon Hill, but I just wondered, man, this is crazy. And you might be thinking that right now. This is crazy. But actually, and I don't know if I can find it, Thomas Paine talks about this, who, was a part of course, the American Revolution. He was a patriot. He talks about this, and I'm not going to be able to find it, but he talks about it. And then what really proved to me that this is true is this, some of you guys might get a laugh out of this. Believe it or not, I was watching an Ancient Aliens episode. If you've never watched it, it's a really interesting show. Okay, it's just about how they believe that aliens came down in the Mayans, the Egyptians. All this stuff. I'm not going to get into it, but it makes a lot of sense because even today with the technology we have, we could not build the pyramids the way the Egyptians did. Okay, so I was watching an episode that was about Einstein and how how did, like I said in the beginning, how did Einstein come up with all this information? How did he get these theories, these scientific theories that he did with the technology that he had? It's just mind-boggling. Well, Einstein even talks about how he would go into deep states of meditation, and he would access this infinite storehouse of knowledge and thoughts, and that's where he got his information. Okay, he would get himself into a state of meditation and a certain state of mind where he was able to access this information. And I was telling my buddy this, and he said, yeah, there's a quote from Einstein that says something like, if he didn't come up with these theories, somebody else would have. Okay, and so that means if you really want to look, dig down into that quote, knowing what we know now, that he's saying that anybody can access this stuff, and had he have not done it, somebody else would have. All right, and the reason that this is so interesting, and the reason that I said that Emmett Fox, the Sermon on the Mount, is this all ties together, is that Emmett Fox, he really breaks down what did Jesus teach. All right, and Emmett Fox he talks more about the spiritual side of things instead of the religious side of things, which so many of us are not fond of. To me, I'm more of a spiritual person than a religious person. I do believe, in the Bible, and I am actually a Presbyterian, but I'm more of a spiritual person. There's a difference. And Emmett Fox says that when, Jesus talks about prosperity in the Bible, he's talking about prosperity in prayer. Okay, and that's interesting, knowing what I just told you now. All right, because whether you believe Jesus is the Son of God or not, he was the most influential person in our history, in our lifetime, in the history of mankind. Because we're still teaching his teaching, still talking about this guy thousands and thousands of years later. So obviously what he was teaching was correct, and was important. So prosperity in prayer, and he says that because when you have prosperity in prayer, you have success in prayer, all the material things will come to you. Well, how interesting, because just like I just told you, when you get, Einstein got in a certain state of meditation, a certain state of mind, call that prayer, okay, he was able to access this infinite storehouse of information. All right, so I think that's funny. And there's even a story that Napoleon Hill talks about Thomas Edison when he had his 9,900 or 999th failure or whatever, of making the light bulb. Well, he didn't call it failure. Of course, it wasn't failure. It was 999, thousand different ways not to make the light bulb. And I should say this first. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Napoleon Hill also says, and this really didn't make sense to me until now, is that he has found that the subconscious mind, okay, we have a conscious and subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is the only doorway to infinite intelligence, all right? And I think that that's interesting because you can only access the subconscious mind in meditation and through repetition. And, and I think that that's interesting because Thomas Edison, he told his subconscious mind what he wanted. He said, I want to know how to create the light bulb, okay? So he went to sleep, and Thomas Edison did this quite often, did his little, what he called cat naps, okay? So he told his subconscious mind what he wanted, all right? He took his little cat nap, and he woke up, and he had the idea of what is now the light bulb, which is the charcoal theory, about how, when you put out, not all the way out, but when you smolder, burning wood, okay, it turns into charcoal, all right, and it burns for a long time. Well, it was in the absence of air, of course, all right, absence of oxygen. So that's how he got the idea. He sucked the air out of his light bulb. He put his filament in there, and it burned for 8 hours, okay? So he got that through his subconscious mind, which accessed that infinite storehouse, all right? And guys, I don't know about you, but this information is just powerful. It's just powerful because knowing what you know now, of course, I highly recommend if you're not meditating and it doesn't, matter what your religion is, of course, I believe in God. If you're not meditating, you are really missing out on, as you can see, on a lot of things, guys. Okay, not only will you be happier, healthier, more at ease, more relaxed through meditation, but now you know that through meditation you can access, the infinite storehouse of information. Okay, so I highly recommend. I have prayed every morning and night for the past almost 21 months now. Okay, but I will admit that recently it's been more out of, I haven't been meditating. It's been more out of habit, just getting on my knees praying. Okay, and I need to get back to meditating. Napoleon Hill says in his audio that I listen to all the time, which actually is available in our back office, our team back office, which you can click the link below and join our team site for free, about how he meditated for 3 hours a day. Okay, 3 hours a day, whether that was all at once or split up, but he meditated for a minimum of 3 hours a day. Now, I wonder why. Okay, I wonder why. It makes perfect sense to me. Okay, that was how he accessed and got his information, all right, and his inspiration and all that stuff. So guys, the point to this is start, no matter what your religion is, okay, because again, it's more about spirituality than it is about religion. Start meditating, start praying, and start trying to access through your subconscious mind this infinite storehouse of information, okay? Because everyone's thoughts go into this storehouse, and you can access them through meditation, through your subconscious mind. So that's all I got, guys. Click the link below. Join our team site. We have all kinds of amazing training, an amazing personal development library that we're going to be constantly adding to both the training and the personal development library and the whole entire team site daily. Okay, so it's free to join, guys. Check it out. We've got the best free training on the internet. Dave Bowen, signing off.